Long, long ago, nestled amongst towering, snow-capped mountains in Japan, lived two woodcutters named Minakichi and Mosaku. Minakichi was young and strong, barely past his boyhood, with a heart as warm as the hearth fire. Mosaku, on the other hand, was old and frail, his joints creaking with every sunrise, his beard as white as the winter snow. One bitter winter evening, caught far from their village and facing a blizzard of terrifying intensity, they stumbled upon an abandoned hut, a lonely refuge hidden deep within the forest. They huddled inside, shivering, trying to escape the biting wind that howled like a hungry wolf. Mosaku, weakened by age and the cold, quickly succumbed to exhaustion and drifted into a fitful sleep. Minakichi, however, remained awake, anxiously watching the swirling snow outside. As the night deepened, and the blizzard raged with renewed fury, the flimsy door of the hut creaked open. A gust of icy wind swept through, carrying with it a figure more ethereal than real. Before Minakichi could even gasp, a woman stood before him. She was breathtakingly beautiful, yet her beauty was not of this world. Her skin was the color of freshly fallen snow, flawless and translucent. Her hair, long and flowing, was the shade of a moonlit winter night. And her eyes were like two shimmering pools of ice, piercing and cold, yet holding an unfathomable sadness within their depths. This was Yuki Onna, the Snow Maiden. Whether Yuki Onna was a normal woman before is one of the mysteries surrounding her. Some say she is a spirit born directly from the winter winds and the accumulated snow of centuries. Others whisper that she was once a woman, a lost soul frozen by grief or betrayal, transformed by the magic of the snow into something more, and something far less than human. Whatever her origin, she is undeniably a creature of nature, an embodiment of winter's beauty and its perilous power. Yuki Onna glided towards Mosaku, her movements as silent and graceful as snowflakes drifting on the wind. She leaned over the sleeping old man, her icy breath frosting the air around him. Minakichi, paralyzed with terror, could only watch as she seemed to draw the very life force from Mosaku's body. The old man shuddered once, then lay still, his face frozen in a peaceful, almost serene expression. There was no longer any warmth left in his body. Then, Yuki Onna turned her gaze to Minakichi. He braced himself, expecting the same icy fate as Mosaku, but instead of death, he found himself captivated by her beauty, even as fear gnawed at his heart. He was young, and he could not help but to be drawn to the mystery she represented. Yuki Onna stared at him, her icy eyes holding him captive.
I should kill you too.
Her voice a soft whisper, like the sigh of the wind through snow-laden branches.
But you are young and fair. I will spare your life, on one condition.
What condition? Minakichi stammered, his voice trembling.
You must never speak of what you have seen tonight.
Yuki Onna replied, her voice growing colder.
If you ever tell anyone about me, about what happened here, I will return and take your life. Do you understand?
Minakichi, desperate to live, nodded frantically. I understand, he whispered. I will never speak of it. Yuki Onna looked at him for a long moment, as if searching his very soul. Then, with another sigh of icy wind, she vanished into the blizzard as quickly and silently as she had appeared. The storm began to abate shortly after. Exhausted and grief-stricken, Minakichi stayed with Mosaku's body until morning, then made his way back to the village, carrying the heavy weight of his secret. Years passed. Minakichi continued his life as a woodcutter, but the memory of that night, of the Snow Maiden's beauty and the chilling threat in her eyes, never faded. He remained silent, never breathing a word of his encounter to anyone. He had survived, but the fear of Yuki Onna returning always haunted him in the back of his mind. Then, one spring, he met a woman named Oyuki. Oyuki was everything Yuki Onna was, but without the aura of death. She was beautiful, with skin as fair as snow and hair as dark as night. But her eyes held a warmth and gentleness that captivated Minakichi completely. Oyuki was kind, caring, and she possessed a gentle spirit that soothed the lingering coldness within Minakichi's heart. They fell deeply and irrevocably in love and married. Soon, they had children, beautiful, healthy children with their mother's fair skin and their father's strong build. Minakichi found a happiness he had never thought possible. The memory of Yuki Onna became like a distant dream, a chilling tale from a forgotten past. One evening, many years later, as Minakichi sat with Oyuki by the warm glow of the hearth, watching their children play, he was overcome with a sudden rush of emotion. He looked at his wife, at her loving smile, at the peace and joy that radiated from her, and he felt an overwhelming need to tell her his secret. He began cautiously, hesitant even after all these years. "Oh, Yuki," he said softly, "I have something to tell you, something I have carried in my heart for many years. It happened one winter night, long ago." He recounted the story of the abandoned hut, of the blizzard, of the terrifying and beautiful snow maiden, and of the promise he had made to never speak of her. As he spoke, Oyuki listened intently, her eyes fixed on his face, her expression unchanging. When he finished, a profound sadness filled Oyuki's face. She looked at him with an expression of both love and sorrow.
Minakichi,
Her voice barely a whisper.
it was you that I spared that night. It was you that I let live. I can't believe you broke your promise to me. If you had not told me, I could have continued living as your wife and the mother of your children.
Then, a change swept over her. Her beautiful face turned cold and hard. Her eyes, once filled with warmth and love, became like the icy pools he remembered from that long-ago night. A chilling wind filled the small cottage, extinguishing the warm glow of the hearth. Oyuki began to transform. Her skin became even paler, her features sharper, her beauty turning into something frightening and ethereal. Slowly, painfully, she grew, not physically, but in presence, becoming larger than life.
I made you promise. Now, the price must be paid.
With a final, heartbroken sigh, Oyuki, the Yuki Onna, dissolved into a swirling mist of snow, escaping through the open door and disappearing into the night. She left behind only the chilling memory of her beauty, the broken promise of a lifetime, and the silent sobs of Minakichi, who was left alone with his children, forever haunted by the loss of the woman he loved and the chilling encounter he could never truly escape. Minakichi was left with the realization that some secrets are better left buried, and that the nature of some beings, no matter how beautiful, remains forever tied to the cold, unforgiving heart of winter.